Hey everybody, so I wanted to create a beginning to end video demonstrating how you can perform your own table one analysis of data that you already have in comma separated values, as well as performing a survival analysis. Okay, so the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some sample data that I generated in ChatGPT. So what you can see here is this is just a sample of the data that you would have here. So you have MRN, you have age as a continuous variable in years, female gender, diabetes, hypertension, AFib, CAD, and MACE. These are all binary variables, meaning they're zeros and ones. And then you have days to event analysis, which we'll be able to use to generate a survival plot analysis. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a table one where we're comparing two categorical variables, okay? So the code that I will show you is going to be something that you can modify. The important thing here is to see how, notice the structure here, okay? Notice the name of the variables and notice how they are formed, because the important thing is, as long as you're consistent with your structure, then your code in R is going to follow it, okay? So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all how I did this. What you can see here is in ChatGPT is the prompt that I use is to let's create a step-by-step process for installing R, followed by the code required for specific packages needed in order to perform statistical analysis, notably comparing a table one between group differences and a p-value. I realize that not everybody has a computer science background. So what I wanted to try to do is make this as simple as possible, where you follow along with this video so that you're able to do this. Now, I had previously installed R and I uninstalled it. So I wanted to see if this would if this worked. This may not work perfectly because I already have R installed. The first thing I'm going to do is to install R. So now I'm just showing my entire screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the R website, okay? Now, I noticed a few things. First of all, this was the R website. So if I click here to download R, it brings me to my website. You could see here I had already downloaded R before. Now, the other thing is the next step you would need to do is to, once you installed R, is you would need to install the RStudio, okay, which is the most user-friendly way to work in R. RStudio is where you're going to be copying and pasting the code. Now, the code wasn't exactly perfect, and so there's a lot of iterations that I had that ultimately generated the final product. So actually, when you go to the RStudio, you can see that the first thing is install R, second is to install RStudio, okay? So since I have Windows, I install it on my desktop. So I click download R for Windows, and it might give me an error message. I think I tried this video before, and it gave me an error message because I already had some stuff in here, but let's try this, okay? So now I'm going to reinstall R here. Click OK, next. Next, it's going to give me the folder already exists. Would you like to install that folder? Anyway, I'm going to click yes. Main files, 64-bit files. Next. Please specify yes or no, and then click next. Customize sub or accept defaults. I'm not going to mess around here too much, so I'm going to go to accept defaults. Okay. Setup will create the program shortcuts. I hit next. So a lot of nexts here. And then you go to next. Following applications are needed using files that need to be updated by setup. Is recommended you allow setup. I'll make close the applications. I'm okay. I think I ran into some trouble here. So it's going to take a minute here. So at this point, you can just speed up in the video here. I'll try to edit this out because it's going to take a minute. It's going to give me some Windows prompts here. I'm going to try ignore the error and continue. Let's try again. Now this part is because I had already installed R before. So let me just skip this. So we're still on step 1 here. And because I had installed R before, this is why these error messages are coming up. Just gonna skip all these things. Skip again. All right, skip again. Okay, and then I'm going to finish. And then the next thing I'm going to do is install RStudio Pose it desktop. Okay, so install R first in RStudio. So this is number 2. So I click here, and you can see the site here, the RStudio desktop. So I scroll down here, and I'm going to install RStudio. So now it's in the upper right-hand corner. RStudio. RStudio is currently running. Okay, so it's already on there. Now your next step here is to create a new R script in RStudio. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip all this because this is what I ended up generating. Now we're going to go through the source file here. Okay, now in R, what I have here is I'm going to copy this as your full one-shot script. Okay, so I'm going to copy this here, and then I'm going to go into RStudio. Okay, so close. So RStudio. So this is RStudio here. I'm just making sure that my screen is shared. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to File. So just to walk you through this, going back to the steps here. RStudio, create a new R script. Okay, in RStudio, File, new file, R script, save it as something like R table analysis. So what I did here is I went all the way down here and I generated the entire thing here in ChatGPT for you. So when you go back to RStudio, You go to File, go to New File, RScript, right? You could alternatively hit Control-Shift-N in Windows, okay? So here you go. All right, this is what your source code. This is going to be run, okay, when you run everything here, okay? So I'm going to maximize this window here. I'm going to paste the code that I had in ChatGPT, okay? You see 249 lines of code. Some important things to highlight here in the one-shot script, okay? These hash marks that you see here, which says one-shot script, install packages, this is kind of like your way of making comments and notes for yourself, okay? And this is for install missing packages only. Now, if you're installing this for the first time, you're not going to have these packages, okay? So there's different packages, and to explain this in a little more detail, what are packages? Packages are basically little mini programs within R, okay? And it enables us to perform the analysis. So when we go down here, install the core packages. So what these packages do: tidyverse, data cleaning, wrangling, plotting, read Excel, import Excel files, standard clean variable names. So there's a lot of different powerful things here. And for further reference, I think what I will suggest is that you could ask ChatGPT what these might mean. But this is just a survey overview of what packages. So you install these little mini programs, if you will, in R. And then what you want to do is you want to load these programs before you end up running the analysis. And then the next thing you do is you import your data set. Okay. Now, if you have a common data set here, we're going to go back to the file that I copied and pasted. Okay. And we'll walk through this. So the required packages here, all the required packages are on here. And I'm going to go to the viewer here, because what you're going to see, pay attention to this lower right-hand corner here. Okay. So install packages, packages to install. Load required libraries. So this is where you're basically telling the program to load all these little mini programs, if you will. Import data set. So this is important. Now, you can import it as comma separate values, and so you want to make sure if it's in Excel and it's in Excel, it's a little bit different. And I'll go over that some other point in time. But read CSV. So what I did is in my download folder, this is the path of where my file is located. Now, if you have your data consistently in this path, if you want to do a different analysis, then you need to do a different data set. But the important thing I encourage you to do is to make sure that your data set is consistent. Okay, so if you are collecting data, as long as you're consistent with all your variables and your variable names, then you're going to be you should be okay. Otherwise, you're going to run into error messages. And the whole purpose of this is designed so that you don't get any error messages. Create table 1 data set. So create a table 1 data set. You can see female gender, male, female, diabetes, hypertension, AFib. So these are from the variables 0s and 1s, nos and yeses. So you want to be consistent. So reviewing this is key. Generate table 1 comparing MACE versus no MACE. So we're going to be comparing MACE versus no MACE. And then you export table 1 into Word, and this is the command where save as document. And the path here is going to be this path here, where it's going to create a Word document for you. So it'll export the table automatically for you and create publish-worthy stuff. Create a survival analysis data set, and then this is what was going to create this fit a survival plot. Now, there's a lot of powerful things that you can do. And this should be all the code here, log rank test. So everything that you basically need here is done here, and it will generate the images for you, actually. So it's one-stop shop from the beginning to end. So you have your data, and then you could create it. And so the key thing is having clean data. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and do this, okay? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go back for the instructions here just to kind of show you all. Prepare the variables. It kind of walks you through step by step of everything. Option A, there's a lot of code here, right? But this is basically just explanation of how everything was generated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. Let's hit Control A. Control A is going to select everything that's inside this window here, okay? The console window down here is going to be telling me what's happening and what's not happening, okay? So I go here to hit Control A. Now you see here what says run the current line. or you can hit Control Enter. Okay, so I'm going to hit Run, and watch what's going to happen on my screen here. Okay, so it's loading the packages. Some of these packages might have already been installed, so it's running. And then display Kaplan-Meier plot. Now as the variables, the data here, analysis complete. All right. So you can see here on your plots, I've generated a Kaplan-Meier curve for MACE-free survival by gender. Okay. Now let's walk through everything. What happened here? You can see on the bottom here, male, female. You can always adjust all these things and these colors. The p-value is not significant, and it's plotting in, of course, days, and it's following events. All of these things you can adjust here in the code, but now you've run this automatically. It gives you the data that the Cox proportional hazards model. So you can see under log here. Now let's see if it generated the files here. So table 1, MACE comparison in Word, and here you go, right? So you have a characteristic, age, female, gender, male, female. So these labels over here came from the labels that from the beginning up here, okay? So when you look here, you see the variables female, gender from our data, the comma separate values, 0 and 1. So if you have maybe categorical variables 0, 1, 2, 3, then you have different labels. So male is 0, female is 1. Diabetes, no, yes. Okay, so let's go back to our table. Going back to our table here, age and years, and then it gives you this in mean and standard deviation. Now, if your variables are non-normal, you're going to need to run a Wilcoxon rank sum test. So there's different code for that. But basically, this is how you can do this. You copy and paste the code. So the key thing is coming back into ChatGPT and problem solving the code, and that's basically it. So that's how you can do this on your own. So download RStudio, copy and paste, and voila.